Welcome to the Mad Love Your Life show. I'm Mary D, the Joy Catalyst, here to be your host and transformation guide. Mad Love is about the mad, making a difference, and love is what we serve up to live a delicious life. My intention is to help you spark new ideas, break limiting beliefs, and align with your deepest dreams and desires. Get ready for laughter, inspiration, and finding your inner roar in every show. Hello, beautiful souls. I am coming at you today with a heart full of gratitude, and my love tank is so full right now. Firstly, it's October, which means it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. If you didn't already know, and if you haven't seen all of the things telling you that it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and as you all know, I'm a survivor of breast cancer, and I am here to remind you to check your boobies, people. Ladies, let your partner check yours for you, and then you check theirs for them. It's a fun activity, and I guarantee you it'll give you some giggles, give you some laughs, and it just might save your life. And guys, you are not off the hook because men can get breast cancer too. So touch your bodies, people, and know you're normal so that when something is abnormal, you'll go get it checked out. I literally found my lump bending over in a yoga pose, trying to pick off a distracting piece of string from my sweatshirt. And if it weren't for that string, I probably would not have felt the lump, or I might have felt it too late. And if I hadn't gone to the doctor and treated that lump, I might not be here today. So I'm encouraging donations to thebreasties.org. So for those of you who still need to write a check to charity before the tax year ends, the link is down in the chat and the show notes. Know that your donation helps us support the breast cancer community and fund Stage 4 research. So with that, I will also throw a few announcements at you. I've had a very busy month, but it was full of people that I love. I got to see my mom and dad, and then I got to spend the weekend in a beautiful forest in Connecticut with friends in a gorgeous log cabin. I got to see another set of friends in New York, and a few days later, I flew to Florida to hang out with my brother. He planted these amazing exotic fruit trees that are now mature, and we were picking and eating jackfruit and longan for days. We laid my uncle to rest in the family plot and enjoyed sitting around his urn telling stories about him and his life and what he meant to us. My brother did something really special. He salvaged a few boxes of photos from my uncle's belongings, and it was really fun to go through those super old photos of my family. I got to see what my great-great-grandparents looked like. I got to see lots of pictures of my dad and my uncle as tiny humans, and it was lovely to look back in time. And late last week, I celebrated my friends Patty and Dave, who just got married and decided to make the festivities last 3 days long in Lake Tahoe. The weather was gorgeous. The bride was gorgeous. And we managed to have so much fun that one of my friends ended up in the ER needing 10 stitches in her hand because she got a little too groovy on the dance floor. And so for sure, she won't be forgetting this wedding for the rest of her life, and neither will the rest of us. But hey, if you have to get stitches, they might as well be for having too much of a good time. All right. I also, I know that traveling this much, it's not normally what I do to try to stack it all at once, but it worked out that way this time. And you know what? I actually feel energized because there's been so much love and connection in all that travel. Life is truly good. And I want to remind you all that our theme this month at Mad Love is celebrating bodies because, y'all, I am so glad to be in mine. So I hope that you'll take a moment to check in with your own body. How's it feeling? Do you notice any energy moving around anywhere in particular? Maybe that second cup of coffee has got your brain buzzing. Are you noticing pain anywhere? And if you are, can you just acknowledge it? Can you acknowledge it without judging it? I want to really invite you to take just a moment before we consume and receive today's message to just take a deep breath and hold it for like 3 seconds, maybe 4, and then let it go completely. And if you need some help with that, one of the things that I do that's really helpful is I take the breath, and in my head, I say, hold 1, 2, 3, let it go. And then I let it out. And you let it out completely and fully. So try it. Give it a try. Deep breath in and hold it. 2, 3, 4, and let it go. This will really help relax your nervous system. And while you're doing that, take a few more breaths and give yourself a moment to think about something that you're really grateful for today. And let that breath go until all the air is out. And if it feels good, do it a couple more times. Take those deep breaths and think about something or someone that you're really grateful for. Anytime I need an instant pick me up, that is my go-to process. I like simple but effective, and y'all getting back to your breath is a beautiful way to be. I was sharing with a friend that I have a favorite bedtime ritual and morning ritual that really accelerate my joy and relieve me of stress. If you don't know, stress is the number one killer here in America. And we have such a culture of like the grind and hustle and bustle, and everything's about the pursuit of money. And I want to remind you that if you are feeling too much of that stress, then your adrenals are taking a beating. Your nervous system is taking a beating. And I promise you that the price that that wreaks on your body, the price that you're paying, is not worth it. I am positive that one of the contributing factors to my previous cancer diagnosis was certainly linked to stress as a factor. And I often think about how stress levels are so high in our society, and I wonder if that is one of the links to why more people are getting diagnosed with cancer than, say, 20 years ago. In a Medical News Today article from February of this year, the World Health Organization stated that an estimated 35 million new cancer cases are going to occur in 2050. So it's my hope that technology and science can figure out how to bring that number way down. I also think that managing stress, not even managing it, eliminating stress and getting back to some basics, simplifying, not keeping up with the Joneses, all the things, all the beautiful things that your heart really desires to do, but your mind probably steals you away with some sort of persuasion. Don't let it happen, y'all. It's really not worth it. So anyway, back to the bedtime ritual. Around 10 p.m., my Alexa reminds me that it's almost time for bed. And if you've ever been to my house, my Alexa identifies as a man with a British accent. And he says, Queen, the time is 10:02, and it'll be time for bed in 30 minutes so that you can get your beauty sleep. So that is my cue for me to start wrapping up my night. I head upstairs, I take a shower or a bath, I lotion up, I journal, I stretch, I pop a few upgraded magnesium supplements, and I place my eye mask over my eyes. And as I lay there, I touch my body from head to toe, and I thank it for being so good to me. I thank it for the repair that it's about to do while I go to sleep. Then I start sending love and healing to whoever is popping into my mind, and I speak a word of thanks for them and for anything else that comes to mind that I'm grateful for. I often say that I'm so thankful that I'm alive in this time and in this place. I get to human with all of you in this current span of years, and 200 years from now, there will be a completely different set of people alive and buzzing on this planet. That's an amazing thought. The next thing I do after I wake up in the morning is I roll around and do something similar upon waking. I love on my dog. I breathe in the day. I listen to the birds. I smile at the songs that start playing on my morning playlist, and they fill the energy with this really great high vibe. I thank God that I woke up. I do a bunch of stretches to wake up my spine and get the blood flowing, and then I head out to the grass barefoot to grab some morning sunshine, and I do some more movement, and I thank the sun for its warm rays. And sometimes I even have a mini morning dance party, and then my day is underway. Not every day is sunny, so sometimes I have to thank the sunshine later in the day when it does decide to come out. But the moral of the story is to be happier, be more grateful, and don't forget your daily dose of vitamin D. In case you didn't know why D is so important, vitamin D is a vitamin that the body produces when it's exposed to ultraviolet B radiation from the sun, and it is linked to happiness. It's literally referred to as the happiness vitamin. So if you're in a place that's overcast or even dark more than it's light, they also make lights that mimic sunlight that you can utilize. I highly recommend adding live plants because the right ones will clean the air on the inside of your home and your space. And you can actually ground by simply touching the leaves and stems with your hands. They also make grounding sheets and grounding mats. And my favorite form of happy comes through those endorphins that rush through my body after an orgasm. So I also recommend more sex. And that can also come in the form of solo sex, though. Personally, I find it a little more fun when there's another warm body nearby. So if you need more happy, it's available to you. But the absolute best and easiest kind definitely comes in the form of gratitude. So today I thought I would share a story with you about a new level of gratitude that I got to experience concerning my deceased biological father. To give you all context, I was not that close to my biological dad. I think there was a time maybe when I was, but they divorced when I was 5, and he was pretty absent after that. There were a few moments. We reconnected when I was an adult, and then he passed away in 2014 of prostate cancer. So there were not as many years in there as I would like to have. I felt like I had to really reach for really strong male role models growing up. And in that, a lot of trial and error. I think I've been so fortunate that really good men have come into my life. And I feel really blessed that that's the case. And also being more conscious about it now of like knowing what I want and what I don't want has really helped. And of course, having a standard, having a really great standard for myself. And what I say to myself is if I were my own child, what standard would I want her to have? And that's the standard I go by. So, as I mentioned earlier, I was going through some old photos of my family, and a few of the photos I came across were also photos of me before the age of 5, before my parents broke up. And I got to give a shout out to my grandma because God rest her soul, she was amazing at writing on the back of every single photo. Every single one has her handwriting scribbled back there. So there's always context for what the person looking at the photo is looking at, which is great because sometimes I'm like, who is that? Is that my dad? Is that my uncle? But she would actually write who it is or what's happening. So I come upon this photo of some kid on a soccer field who is mooning the camera. And I'm thinking, why do we have this photo in here? Number one, butt cheeks are like high in the air, pants pulled down to the ankles, about to go down into mid squat. And you can't see the face at all. So I'm finding this to be the really weirdest photo in our family collection at this point. I turn the photo over, y'all, and in my grandmother's handwriting, it says, Mary D couldn't wait. And then suddenly I remember my mom telling me how we're at my brother's soccer game. And I apparently came to her and said, hey, Mom, I need to use the bathroom. So she told me, oh, go ahead. And with the go ahead in her mind, she thinks she's sending me to a bathroom. But I proceeded to walk out onto the field, right over to the fence, yank down my pants, and pee in front of everyone. And I can thank my dad for capturing that moment and my grandmother for documenting it. There was also this other photo I found of me and my dad sitting at a table on the back patio. And before us was this miniature tea set where I apparently was throwing a tea party. And in the next photo, we're in the same spot, except I'm kissing my dad on the cheek. And y'all, it is the sweetest photo. I was reminded in that moment that there was a time when I didn't view my dad as this like absent cheating guy who womanizes and abandoned our family as soon as he brought us over into the US. I was reminded that there was care and love at a time long ago, but that he was at once a loving family man and a provider and someone who I probably adored. And I decided that that's the way I want to actually remember him. And so I'm framing that one because each time I see it, I feel like my heart expands a little bit more. And I start forgetting that there was anything other than love between us. And you might be saying, Mary, how is that possible? He wasn't around. He did abandon you guys. Yes, I'm acknowledging that. And what if I remember that we all do and have done things that we aren't proud of? That there's many moments we may want to go back and relive or go back in time that we don't get an opportunity to. I don't know what his insecurities were, and I'm not even sure I know what kind of life he actually dreamed of having. I think he loved me in the best way he knew how to love me. And even though it wasn't the love that was felt by me consistently, I have to also, again, take that inventory of the times where we did get to have a dinner and have a meaningful conversation, or he made me a margarita, or he came to my house for like a week and helped me rewire the house, or the time he brought his mistress to my conference. He actually, did attempt to take me on a summer vacation once with his new family. He also tried to get me into his MLM. Nothing spells love like recruiting your family into direct sales so that everyone can get rich if it works out. And then the last time I saw him was when he was on his deathbed. He offered me his pet duck as my inheritance. And it was interesting to watch this dying man fight tooth and nail to try and live a little bit longer because he just wasn't ready to die. And all these moments remind me of the human condition. They remind me that we mess up, that we don't go through life perfectly, that some people walk around vexed all of the time, that some people never learn the lesson, that some people experience suffering on repeat, that some people make bad choices and they die by those bad choices. Others make bad choices, then choose to make better choices and end up ahead. Y'all, there's no perfect formula. We all come here and we human with each other. I really believe that we human as best as we know how based on how we view the world. So to all the great fathers out there who are raising the standard and giving every suitor that comes your daughter's way a run for their money, good on you. And for those of you who are feeling any guilt or shame about how you have or haven't showed up, you have such an opportunity to make better choices going forward, or at the very least to give it your best effort. And lastly, for all of you daughters and sons who have wasted any time hating, loathing, cursing, or crying over your father who sucked, I want to do a little guided visualization with you in hopes that it will open a doorway to healing your heart. Because we have such a short jaunt on this earth, and I don't believe in giving free rent in my head or my heart to unforgiveness or hatred, and I hope you won't either. I want to take you back to the first thing we did today, which was feeling into your body and getting in touch with your breath. I want you to breathe and hold and recognize where you feel anything in your body when you think about your dad. And maybe it's not your dad. It could be your mom. It could just be someone who you have some unforgiveness around. But we're focusing on dads today. And I want you to imagine that for one moment, you get to be inside his head and his body. And while you're there inside, you're not going to project your own beliefs and biases about him. Like if you think he never cared for you or never tried, you're going to leave all that at the door. And instead, we're going to work on shifting your perspective. And as you shift your lens, you're going to see an entirely different side of life for this guy. You're going to sit in his body and you're going to see things differently than you've ever seen them before. So take a breath and close your eyes. Take a deep breath, hold it, let it go. And can you imagine in this body, if he is you and you are assessing the situation, can you imagine what suffering, what pain, what trauma, and what grief might have been going on in his own life? What if he experienced sexual abuse from an adult as a child, but never was brave enough to talk about it? What if he was verbally abused and told he was worthless in his life long before you were even a thought? What if he had demons of addiction that you were never privy to? Can you imagine what it might feel like to know that you brought life into the world that shares your very DNA, and yet you have no capacity to show up and love in the way that you know that child deserves to be loved? Can you connect with the amount of guilt or shame he must feel when he walks through the grocery store and sees a dad holding his little girl's hand as she smiles and giggles, knowing he will never get that moment? Can you imagine the sadness he feels when he sees a friend walking their daughter down the aisle, knowing that he is going to miss out or has already missed out on such an honor? Can you imagine what it feels like for him to lay in bed at night and cry alone, wondering how he ever allowed himself to miss any of these precious moments and milestones? Can you imagine what it might feel like for him to judge himself so much harsher for being a shitty dad than you ever could, and live with that regret until the day he dies? Breathe in, hold for 3, breathe out, and let it go. And take a few more breaths. Sit with what probably it feels like to be him. I want you to look beyond the facade, and there you will find a shell of a human being who probably missed out on the most important and meaningful calling of his life, which is to be a loving, caring, protecting dad who keeps his kids both emotionally and physically safe. And when you've felt enough, I want you to step out of his body and back into your body with one last deep breath. Hold it, 2, 3, 4, and let it go. I hope that compassion is starting to make its way into your heart. I hope that perspective gives you a shift that you need to move from any of your own grief into reflection. I hope that you'll kick out those thoughts that lead to feelings that lead to anger and pain around someone who wasn't or isn't in a place to love you like a father should love his child. And if fatherhood is your calling, then I hope you will love with the biggest capacity that a father can, and that you will reap all of the fruits of your labor of love. And with that, if you want to get in touch with us, and if you want to, I encourage y'all, if you liked this particular recording, please go back and listen to it again. Please keep it, and put your point on the dial where the visualization starts, and do it as many times as you need to with as many people in your life as you need to. There's so much healing and expansion that can happen when we get in touch with our breath and when we decide to shift our perspective. Because sometimes the way we think we see things is not always what actually happened, but they are how we perceive things. So, how do we get to a point where we can learn that sometimes perception has a deception to it? Just some thoughts to think with. All right, y'all. You know how to do it. We are down in the show notes or the comment section, and you will see all the ways to get the goods. I do love reading your comments and suggestions, so don't be shy. And with that, that's today's live show. If you want more, you can head over to the Mad Love Your Life show on YouTube or Spotify or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And lastly, head over to maryd.com to get more information on the Mad Love that's available for you. So until next time, may abundance always walk beside you. May joy always go before you. And may love always guide you on your path. Thank you for tuning in to today's show. We air live every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Bold Brave TV. We hope to see you back next week. For more ways to connect with my guests, content, programs, and retreats, just head over to www.maryd.com and subscribe. That's MARYDEE.com.